By the time you're done watching this video, you're gonna feel like you attended a class at CalArts. I'm gonna be breaking down my overall experience, honest opinions, and everything you need to know about classes at CalArts and how they work. My name is Afsane, and I'm an alternative pop singer-songwriter, and I attended California Institute of the Arts, also known as CalArts, for 4 years, and I graduated class of 2025 with a BFA in Performance and Composition. So let's get into the video. I'm gonna be breaking it down into 5 sections. Stick to the end to hear what my most and least favorite classes were. So I want to start off with the part about school that I really did not like, which were critical studies classes, also known as general ed. I want to play a little guessing game real quick, and I want you to guess, out of the 120 credits that were required to graduate, how many do you think were required critical studies or general ed credits? Did you guess 10, maybe 20, maybe 30? 40? Well, if you guessed 40, you'd be almost exactly right. We needed 46 out of our 120 credits to be critical studies credits. That's approaching nearly half. And to me, I think that is a little excessive. Like, I totally understand that we do need to know these things like cultural studies, humanities, etc. But to an extent, I think 20 or 30 credits would have been more than enough. But anyways, there's 4 categories: cultural studies, humanities, social sciences, and science and math. We needed 2 credits from each of those 4 categories, and then the rest could be whatever we wanted. What was really nice was that certain classes within each of the schools, like music, counted toward critical studies. For example, some of the music history classes counted towards a critical studies credit. And another thing was that I took AP classes in high school and I passed for the test. So I was able to remove some of the critical studies requirements because of the AP test that I passed, which was really nice because for each test that I passed, I got 4 credits removed, which added up to 16 credits. So which ends up being basically like a whole semester. But that was really helpful. Otherwise, I would literally have to take a whole semester worth of critical studies classes. Yeah, overall, my opinion is that there should have been less credits. I think a lot of people agreed the classes were just like 3 hours of lecture. I already did it in high school. I don't know why I had to take genetics. You know, it was just like redundant, but I got 16 credits removed. So now for the next section, which is the workload. First of all, I'm going to be talking solely in the music school, and also for some context, some of the classes that I took were like music theory, performance classes, songwriting classes, or like learning programs, things like that. And for the most part, I would say that the workload was definitely not that intense. Like, it varies obviously class to class, but honestly, just like overall, it really was not that bad. I can go more in depth onto specific classes and how their curriculum worked in another video if that's something people would be interested in. The type of classes that had most workload, in my opinion, were music theory classes, and especially as you progress through the higher levels, it got a lot harder because not only do they give you a lot of work, but also you actually have to learn the information and do well on like the quizzes and the assignments and get answers right. So like compared to like a songwriting class that maybe might have the exact same amount of workload, a music theory class is just harder because you actually have to learn information. You're not just creating something or, you know, just turning in something that just completes the criteria. It has to be like you understand it. So those classes honestly were the hardest because you also had weekly quizzes where you had to go like sing something. Even like freshman year, our music classes, we actually like sang in class. Like the teacher would like call on people, and that was like part of your participation grade. So that was really hard, but it became like less like that as you got into the higher levels, whereas more just like you did a test one-on-one and that was it. Now with workload comes deadlines, and CalArts is very lenient with deadlines. They understand that as artists and especially musicians, they want us to be prioritizing gigs and collaborations and working on projects with other students. So they make it easy for us to do that by not being so strict with deadlines. It does vary from teacher to teacher, but honestly, in all my classes overall, like they really are super chill with it. They're like, just get it in when you can. And even if by the end of the semester you're missing a few things, they'll usually allow you to turn it in, if not for full credit, partial credit, but usually even for full credit, even if it's like really late. But that's something I really liked about the school because they understand that we're artists, and like a lot of time artists are like really flowy and not super good at time management. So they kind of allow that, which is really nice. For me, since I did like a lot of AP classes in high school, I was really used to having a deadline and having a lot of work. Coming to an art school where they were lenient on deadlines and did not have like a super heavy course load, it was really easy for me, and also doing something that I like. Now I want to talk about the grading system. What's really cool about CalArts is they do not have have a standard grading system like ABCD. Their grading system is a lot looser. It goes high pass, HP, pass, P, low pass, LP, and then no credit, NC, or fail. And so it's similar to the ABCD grading system, but it's not,
oh, we got 85% on this test, now that equates to this.
It's a lot more like, okay, you have to complete this many assignments to get a pass. You have to complete this many assignments to get a high pass. So it's really, again, really chill, really lenient. It just doesn't make sense for a music school or art school to have those types of grades. I honestly really liked it. It made it a lot less stressful and easier to kind of like get the work done and easier to focus on other things like your own music and performances and stuff like that. Another thing that kind of goes along with the grades is attendance. So the rule is more than 3 unexcused absences and you fail the class, but I've literally never had that been the case. Most teachers will start off the year being really strict and they'll say, if you have 4 unexcused absences, you automatically fail, but they almost always, by the end of the semester, are way more chill, especially the music theory classes, because you have to meet 4 to 5 times a week in that class. So a lot of, and they were like 9 a.m. classes, which for music students is really early. So people were always missing class and they never really cared. Like you could usually, if you just talk to them and say like, what's going on, they'll usually like just say, okay, do this assignment for extra credit or whatever. I never really got to that point. I would miss more than 3. From what I remember, but it was like fine. Some teachers would be like, just email me and it's fine. Some will just not even care. It just depends on the teacher again, but for the most part, you're able to miss more than 3 and you're more than fine. Now, another really part about classes were lessons. So that's the next topic. So it depends on your major. Some majors did not require a lesson per semester, some did. So for me, I'm performance and composition, so I was required to take performance and composition lessons. So how it works was freshman and sophomore year, you're required to take 2 30-minute lessons each semester. One that's performance in the instrument of your choice. So for me, voice, and then 1 lesson in composition. And then junior and senior year, you had to take one 1-hour lesson per semester in either performance or composition you get to pick. And then for the teacher, you get to pick your top 3 choices and then they give you usually one of those. I usually got one of my top 3, but there were some semesters where I didn't. So for my experience with the lessons was that freshman year, they weren't really as useful as I guess they could have been because I just didn't really know what I wanted to create, like what I was doing. It was just like a lot happening at once. So it was kind of just like going through the motions for me, but it wasn't really anything to do with my teachers. I feel like they were pretty chill. It was more so like I just was kind of figuring it out, you know what I mean? Like figuring out my sound and stuff like that. But then as the years progressed, like it definitely got a lot more beneficial and I learned, actually like got something out of it. Junior year was like my favorite year for composition lessons because I had a teacher that I just really clicked with and I felt like she understood like what I was trying to do. So that matters a lot if you know what you're doing and then if you have a teacher that kind of understands what you're trying to do and has like a similar way of creating that you do. Lessons were pretty great. There were some years where I was just kind of like, ugh, like it felt like a chore to take a lesson. I mostly did voice lessons, but then toward the end I did guitar lessons, but honestly like guitar lessons just never stuck with me. I just maybe don't have enough of like a drive to learn the instrument. So that was a requirement. I don't know. I think you can take non-required lessons, I'm pretty sure. So that's what's also really cool. Like even if it's not required in your major, you can still take it. So that's cool. Now for teachers, I'm not going to be naming names, but honestly, I don't even have anything negative to say really. For the most part, I had fine teachers, like either they were really great or they're just like pretty good. Like no one was really, well, not no one, there was like maybe like 1 or 2 that were like kind of okay. Honestly, everyone was just like passionate and knew what they were talking about and had like a really good course plan. Like that's like the thing a lot of teachers kind of like were good at, especially music theory teachers. They really had like everything set up. And also, so most classes had like TAs, so you could go get tutoring. The only thing I remember was like with certain music theory classes, there was like usually like some miscommunication with the TAs and the teachers. The TAs would be telling us, oh, you have to do this, and the teacher would be like, no, like you're not supposed to do that. I don't know, it was just weird, but that was like a few times. It was not that big of a deal. That was really the only negative thing I even have to say, but if you guys have any like specific questions, I can get into it more, but overall, like I had a good experience with all my teachers. So now for the part we've all been waiting for, my favorite and least favorite classes. I'm gonna start with my least favorite because I want to end on a positive note. Honestly, it was kind of hard to pick my least favorite because there were a couple of classes that I really did not like, but I think I'm gonna have to go with instrumental composition for a few reasons. First of all, I took it freshman year, which again, like as I said, I wasn't really sure what I was up to, what I was trying to do, so that kind of affected it. Number 2 was like, it was a very intense class. So basically instrumental composition was you had to compose pieces for live players that were gonna come in, so you had like a month or something to compose for each of these like players, and they were gonna play it in front of the class, and I just didn't really like composing for woodwinds, strings, like that sort of thing, you know what I mean? And I don't know, maybe I picked the wrong major because it is like performance and composition, but it's also songwriting. It's like composition and songwriting. I don't know. It was just really intense and I did not know what I was doing. I remember the first piece we had to do was cello. They played Mine the Last and it was literally the worst piece. Like I don't know how to explain it to you. Like it had like 4 notes on the damn staff. Like it was so bad, bro. And everyone else's was like so complex and had all these, and I was like, bro, I need to. It was on Zoom, so it wasn't that bad. Like I wasn't like in class getting freaking embarrassed, but they really did save the worst for last in that one. So yeah, instrumental comp, my least favorite class. Also, I'm not including critical studies because of course those are my least favorite, but I'm talking about music school. Now for my most favorite class, this one I can say easily is my most favorite class, was songwriting and analysis with Mark Lowenstein. That class was so good for so many reasons. Obviously, I learned a lot. It just made me realize so many things about songwriting, understanding it better, and just like the constant, like understanding these like little details that make up a song. So that class basically worked like each week you had a different prompt. A few of the songs that I actually released came from those prompts. So my song Should Have Had My Fun came from the prompt that was descending baseline. And one of the prompts was write a song a day, and my song Look to the Sky came from that, where I wrote it in a day. I didn't write like, I wrote like maybe a minute and 30 seconds of it, but like the main melody and production came from that. First of all, I got like a lot of my best ideas from that class. And then 2, I really like, one of the big aspects of that class was like sharing your work. So I really like sharing it, but also like hearing everyone else's, because I feel like you hear things here and there in certain classes, but this class was like so dedicated to what people were creating. It was just really cool. Like it's very inspirational and motivational too, to be like, they're creating fire stuff, like you need to be creating stuff too. And it's also just cool to hear people's like feedback on your piece and what they think. It was just a really great class. I really love it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. Comment this emoji if you made it this far in the video. If you got accepted to CalArts, congrats. And if you're still deciding on whether or not you want to go, I hope this video helped you. I wish that there had been a video like this explaining the classes like in detail when I was applying. So I hope that you guys enjoyed. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe, because I'm thinking of starting a series just like talking about the different aspects of CalArts and like my experience and my opinions on it. So if you're interested in that, subscribe and let me know in the comments what you would want me to make a video about. If you want to listen to one of the songs that I made in the songwriting and analysis class that I mentioned, click here and you can see the visualizer that I made for it also. Hope you guys enjoy, and I'll see you in the next video.